Are you overwhelmed with your budget? Or maybe you lack a budget because you're stuck in fear. It's time to take the fear out of your finances. In today's episode, I'm answering 5 of your questions when it comes to budgeting so that you can be unstoppable in your finances. Because this is the Your Money, Your Life podcast where ambitious women come together to have clarity, prosperity, and confidence with their money without sacrificing precious time and well-deserved fun. So let's do this. Welcome back to another episode. We're continuing our Ask Me Anything series, and today we're answering your questions when it comes to budgeting. So we've got 5 questions, and let's get to it. The first one is about savings accounts, sinking funds. Sometimes people call them sinking funds, savings accounts, same type of thing. But the question is, do you keep them all separate? Now, I personally do. If you've listened to me for a while, you probably know I love Discover. Like, the credit card company has a banking portion as well. And their checking and savings accounts is really what I utilize. I have the one savings account like at my regular bank that, they kind of make you open. And then most of my savings is in Discover with Discover accounts, and I keep them separate. We have annual expenses is done as a checking account, and that is the one that I do like transactions through, but everything else is done as a savings account. I do keep them separate. For the business side of things, Novo is a great resource, and they have something that's set up. You have like one checking account, but you can have reserves within that. And I believe it's Capital One. They have a 360 program, I believe is what it's called, that allows you to do something similar. So you could do something like that as well. But for me, I find it's easiest just to keep them separate. I can see with them all being at one bank, I can do within a bank transfer and it's available immediately. All right, second question. How can I live my life and enjoy my money, but not end up retired going, I have to be a Walmart greeter and live on welfare? And that is the beauty of percentage-based budgeting, because we build in that play account that we're already working on having, like being able to live life and do things that we love in moderation. Is not the right word, but a similar type thing. Like, it has to be done like that, that we can live life and we can have fun without going extreme. But at the same time, you're taking care of your responsibilities, whether that's savings, whether that's your financial freedom account, your education account, whatever you're adding to prepare for retirement. You can do both of those at the same time with percentage-based budgeting and really feel good about it and know that you're doing what you need to do. I feel like that was a very simple answer to that probably more complex question, but percentage-based budgeting really answers that in a way that feels good, because it is about balance. It's not about going extreme one way or the other. This episode of the Your Money, Your Life podcast is brought to you by Budgeting Simplified. Do you struggle with stress and overwhelm with budgeting? Or do you get frustrated that you spend so much time on your budget, yet at the end of the month, you're not actually getting ahead? Then Budgeting Simplified might be just for you. Inside of this course, you'll learn how to budget successfully in a simple manner that sets you up to create prosperity, freedom, and security so that you can budget without stress in just 4 weeks. To check out Budgeting Simplified and step into unstoppable finances with a budget that works for you, your money, your life, you can check out Budgeting Simplified now at aimeecerka.com/budget. But this year for Black Friday, I'm giving you a discount on several of my most popular programs. That way you can access just what you need to move forward. And Budgeting Simplified is one of them. So get on the VIP list, be the first to know about when the deals go live and all the details. Simply visit aimeecerka.com/Black Friday. And of course, if you need that link again, it's hanging out in the show notes for you. Number 3, we seem to always have unexpected expenses come up. How do I deal with these without getting behind? We kind of feel like I didn't even realize this until just now, but I feel like our questions are kind of building on each other. So most of the time when we see that happen, we have savings accounts that aren't funded. So the savings accounts that you should have should include, at a minimum, you have to have 2, okay? We have to have our contingency fund and an annual expenses / everything else fund. And what I find is we'll set up a budget off of like 1 month's worth of expenses, but that didn't account for the kids going back to school or softball registration or the car needing something. And those, we have to start off knowing that it's going to take a little bit of time to get going in a good budgeting system that you can just pay for out of savings. So don't beat yourself up. Like if you don't just have the money in savings, first off, like that doesn't do us any good. But have your 2 savings accounts and start adding to that annual expenses account so that you have the funds there to pay for the expense when you need to. And again, we go into all of this inside Budgeting Simplified. So if you haven't checked out Budgeting Simplified, if you're not a part of Budgeting Simplified, that is definitely a resource that I would be grabbing, because these situations, these problems, they feel so massive, they feel so overwhelming, and it really can be a very simple, not necessarily easy, but simple fix to move forward with them. Okay. And that's another one. It's a simple little switch that makes all the difference really for your budget and your finances in general. Which brings us to the 4th question. I have enough, but we just can't seem to get ahead. And there's like a couple things that we've seen that I typically see are coming up when this happens. Okay. So the first is, are you actually budgeting or are you just expense tracking? So that's the first question you need to be able to answer. If you're not budgeting, we need a budget. Secondly, if you are budgeting, are you putting money aside first? Are you setting that intention first when you first get paid, or are you waiting to put any money in savings or investments until like the end of the pay period? Because we'll end up spending the money, right? If you're doing it first, okay, let's reevaluate. Hopefully you're doing the percentage-based budgeting and that you're able to look at those percentages. Maybe there's something that you can cut so that you can move ahead. And then the third part is to be unstoppable in your finances. We have to play the well-rounded game. That's why there's 4 parts to the Unstoppable Finances framework. And the defensive side with your money management, this budgeting here, is just one side. If you're not working to improve and increase your income, the game's set up against you, which we learn about inside the battlefield with our money mindset and the way the economy is set up, the rules that we're stuck playing. If we don't have those other pieces together, we're not going to get ahead. And it can feel very frustrating, very overwhelming, very discouraging even. So those are your 3 things that I want you to check if you have enough, but you can't seem to get ahead. And the 5th thing, I feel like this is a theme for our Ask Me Anything series. Because this is what happens for so many of us. Let's just get to it. It's more of a statement, okay? I've tried all the things before and it just doesn't work. And I feel that. I really do. And I'm sorry, because it sucks when you've done all the work and you're not seeing the results that you wanted to. And again, there's a couple things that come up. 2 main things that I want to talk about. The first thing is, if you're doing all the work and you're actually doing all the work and you're doing it consistently and not seeing the results, there is a money mindset obstacle that is still holding you back. And I hate to say that. I mean, it's true. Like, I don't hate to say it from that perspective, but that is exactly what I went through. And I remember how defeated I felt because it felt like I had wasted all this time doing all this work, and it felt like it was for nothing because I was still self-sabotaging with the money mindset obstacle. So if that is you, again, I get it. I understand. I am with you, but I want you to be encouraged that when we figure out that money mindset obstacle, that block, and you get past it, your results will show up so much faster because you've already been doing the work. Okay. So that's the first part there. If you've tried all the things and it just isn't working. And the second part is, how long have you been doing this? And I mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about that money mindset issue. Our consistency is so important, which is why the fourth part of the Unstoppable Finances framework is that coaching, that support, that accountability, that having somebody that is going to help you do the things that you know you need to be doing. Just life happens and then they don't get done. Okay. So really, regardless of which side of that equation you're on, if you don't have budgeting simplified, again, I think it's a great place to start. I do have support options in there to handle both of those within that program, that you can like add on because you know that you need that additional support. That is definitely there. You know that I'm here to support you. Kind of feel like we ended that like on almost like a negative note, but I want you to be encouraged. If you're doing the work and you're not seeing the results, you're probably not that far away from your breakthrough. Okay. So we answered 5 questions today, continuing our Ask Me Anything series, talking today about budgeting successfully. We talked about our savings accounts. We talked about the balance between like enjoying life and not having to be a Walmart greeter when you retire. We talked about unexpected expenses and how to handle those so that you don't keep getting behind. We talked about what to do if you feel like you just can't get ahead. And then lastly, we talked about if you've tried all the things and it's just not working. Your challenge for today is I want to hear which one of these was most helpful for you on your budgeting, your financial journey, where you're at. Send me a message on Instagram at Aimee Cerka. I can't wait to hear from you, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Your Money, Your Life podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Your Money, Your Life podcast. Wondering what's next? When you're ready, there are different levels of support that you can use on the path to creating unstoppable finances and your unstoppable life. After all, your finances are unique and your support should be too. Ultimately, we'll create a customized plan to ditch financial struggle for good that works for you, your goals, your priorities, your life. Go to workwithaimee.com to get started with one of our most popular programs, or you can book a Q&A call with me and we'll figure out what your next step should be.